Hi friends, I'm Prairie Vintage. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. And I wanted to make a video about victim mode. So it's quite interesting. I think I've always been drawn away, or repelled isn't the right word, but just energetically not connecting to a lot of people from a very young age. And I wasn't sure if it was because I just didn't, I couldn't connect or couldn't resonate or what was going on there. But I just always felt like when people get into their victim mode, which I'll explain what, what that means to me, or what I mean by it when I say it, it made me energetically really drained, and I just didn't feel like I resonated. So it didn't make me want to hang out or discuss with anybody that was kind of in that sort of state. And so it's normal to feel down, right? And I mean, these last couple of years have been up and down, up and down. So I don't think I've ever really experienced sadness or depression, I guess, if you will, until recently, because I've always been a very positive, happy type person, and I felt it from my core. I didn't feel like I was covering anything up, although I do talk about, complacency in my life, but deep down I was always like a pretty optimistic and positive person. But I feel like it maybe stemmed from me being very passionate, so it's easy for me to be in the moment. Like it's easy to get lost and kind of become complacent because you kind of are in the matrix. But once you are in tune with your emotions, which I've always seemed to be, and especially if you're passionate, it's easy when something moves you to break the mold, so to speak, and get into the moment, which I would do before I came enlightened or had my spiritual awakening, as just a natural state, especially with children or events or situations in which your emotions are raw, and I wouldn't shy away from speaking my piece or allowing my emotions to come out, or really living in the moment, which I think helped, and also possibly why it was not such a huge shift for me to get into present moment. So back to the victim mode, I just always felt as though, and still can see how people like to talk about, their stories, their challenges, and like, yeah, on YouTube here I'm talking about like what I'm going through as an individual. But I feel like when you're around people, on a day in day out basis, like, are you talking about your story of the past, and are you in victim mode? Because if you're not discussing ideas and excitement about what you're creating and working on, and passionately kind of involved in the moment, then you're kind of stuck. Like if you're stuck and you find you're not moving in life or in the same situation, it could be that you're constantly retelling a story, of how you were a victim, or a victim to your circumstance, or how things are happening to you, rather than, the universe kind of conspiring for you. But we get into the whole energy of trying to control an outcome, or getting so involved and pulled into people's situations and circumstances, where I feel we need to lay boundaries. And boundaries can be, I can't do this person's healing, or I cannot get pulled into energetically having to walk through this person's victim mode story when it pulls away from your own energy, and maybe some people feel like they're rude by not wanting to listen to somebody else. And I mean, if somebody's really struggling, it's difficult for you just to not be a listening ear, because sometimes people need that listening ear or whatever. But you'll understand the people who are always constantly in that state and who aren't doing the work to get out of that. Like, there's certain people in my life where it's like the same story, you know, it's the same situation, and it's like, okay, you know, I can't listen to your victim mode story time and time again if you're not willing to understand that you internally have to do the work to help yourself get out of a situation, you know. And we could be blaming other people, and other people could, in theory, be to blame, but, you know, after you have a responsibility to pull yourself out, regardless of who's to blame, then the blame solely falls on you if you're not allowing yourself to do the work. And it's difficult, you know, it's difficult to become present and detach your mind from what's going on. But if your mind is constantly, you know, attached to the past, and you're rehashing and reliving the past and getting pulled into situations that would be best served you allowing the universe to deal with, and trust in yourself and the universe to deliver to you, then that's an active decision that you're consciously making, you know. So yeah, the victim mode in society, I feel like, is rampant. Like, people, you know, and it's okay to go hang out with your friends or whatever, and try to bond, I guess, because everyone socializes. But I feel like the whole matrix is a little inverted. It's like, let's go for drinks and, you know, gossip or talk about or whatever. Like, it just, like, from the past, which I just feel like is keeping the focus on a lot of our hurts and a lot of our pains and a lot of our history, in which we're just keeping alive, you know, keeping alive that sort of pain, or keeping alive that story. And that is a form of attachment. If we're attached to the story, if we're attached to how it's victimized us, if we're attached to something, it gives us some sort of an identity, which, like I explained in past videos, like, if you're detached, then it becomes a little bit scary, or at least in a state where it's not the preferred, right? Like, you want an identity because it's easier to be complacent, or it's easier to have something than to not have an identity or not be attached to anything and wander and not know who you are or what it's about. But yeah, so then the victim mode becomes, you know, people who just thrive off of building an identity for themselves, even if it's based on some sort of experience that's negative or that's holding them back in some way. So if you're catching yourself not, you know, discussing what you're inspired by, or what you're experiencing in the present moment, and really trying to be present, then I feel like you are not really allowing yourself to ascend. You're not really mindful of the people maybe around you that might, you know, be trying to ascend themselves, who energetically don't need to be pulled into whatever situation of a victim mode story that you're trying to attach yourself to or stay attached to. So anyway, that's my little rant about victim mode. But what's your experience, guys? Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.